Hi, it's Corrine, and today I wanted to share some of the Matchbook style albums that I've been making. I am pretty much addicted to them. I'm using Kathy Orta's tutorial, however I changed it up a bit, so I wanted to make a video just showing the changes that I made that work well for me. This is a small one using paper bags, the paper bags by 7 Gypsies, and I have not completed this one yet. As you can see, there's no inserts yet or anything like that. And then again, this one I worked on today. I have not finished it yet. This is the size that I'll be making today. I haven't embellished it at all on the inside, but I did, I made 8 pockets here, and I used the paper instead of the paper bags, and I really like those so much better. It's just cleaner and crisper, I think, and I put tabs on them with papers on the inside. And this is, I believe, the paper line is K & Company Wild Saffron. So I still have to finish this one. And then this one here I made using the ornamental die cut by Tim Holtz. These are flowers that I got from Walmart that I took apart and added some to. I used some Wild Orchid Craft leaves here that I sprayed with Perfect Pearl Mist, and I sprayed the front cover with the Perfect Pearl as well. I used some Recollections Flatback Pearls, and then some Wild Orchid Craft Pearl sprays. And then I used some Prima pearls, some frog feathers trim under here, frog feathers trim here, and there's really not much more that I can embellish this, or it probably wouldn't close. Again, I made 8 pages with inserts. And each one's different. So I'm going to make another one this size, showing the dimensions I used. And Kathy has a great tutorial on it, as I'm sure you all know already. For the page inserts, I took 12 by 12. There's a little bit of waste using 12 by 12, so if you have 8.5 by 11, it would be much better. And I cut it down to 7 3/4. And then one page, or one piece of paper by 6 1/4. And the other one by 7 1/4. Okay, I'm going to do another 2 here, again 7 3/4. And then one of them, these are to make the pockets for the inside. One is 6 1/4, and the other is 7 1/4. Okay, I'm going to put my trimmer aside, grab my scoreboard. So this is the 7 1/4 by 7 3/4. We're going to go ahead and put it on the 7 1/4 side. and we're going to score it at 1 inch. Flip it around and score at 1 inch. And I'm saying 1 inch, I'm sorry, it's a half of an inch. So a half of an inch on both sides, and this is the 7 1/4 side. Then we're going to rotate it to the 7 3/4 side and score it at 6 1/4. Okay, and we're going to do that with the other one as well. So on the 7 1/4 side, we're going to score at a half of an inch. Flip it around, score it at a half of an inch. Okay, and we're going to flip it and score it at 6 1/4 as well. Okay, and then on the smaller one, we're going to put it on the 7 3/4 side and just give it one score here at 6 1/4. Again, do the same thing with this one. Put it on the 7 3/4 side, score it at 6 1/4. And that is to match the same score line as the larger piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this up. And next, what I want to do on the larger pieces, the 7 1/4 by 7 3/4, you can see the score lines here. There's 2 tabs that we're going to cut off. Okay, so we're going to cut up to the 6 1/4 score line and take off that tab. We're going to do the same on the opposite side. Okay, we're going to take off that tab. And then what we want to do is miter the corners here, just so when we fold it, it's a cleaner fold. Okay, so we're going to do that. And same thing on this one. We're going to cut up to the 6 1/4 score line, take that piece off where the score lines meet. That's what we cut off. Now we're going to go ahead and miter the corners. Just take a little triangle off of each side. Okay. And then what I like to do, I'm going to go ahead and give this a crease. And what I like to do is go ahead and add my score tape before I actually fold it. It's just a little bit easier. I'm using the 1/4 inch score tape. You want to use something strong on these to make sure it holds. Wet glue would also work great. Okay, and I'm going to do this one as well. Okay, now what I want to do is fold on these creases here and use my bone folder to push down the score tape to really burnish that, and then also to give this a good crease. And I'm going to go ahead and do it with this piece as well. Give this a nice crease. And this other side a nice crease. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove the score tape. And take this other piece matching up the bottom pieces together, and I'm going to start from the top to match this up so it looks even on the top. The bottom is not going to be noticed, so I don't care as much about that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on this one. Matching the score marks at the bottom and trying to make this even at the top. Okay, next what you want to do is go ahead and give this a crease and add some hot glue in order to close the pocket right here. And what I found is not to put the hot glue too close to the edges, or you'll end up seeing it in the finished product. Make sure that's folded down nicely, and exact same thing on this one. I'm going to give it a crease and add my hot glue right at the seam here, and not too close to the edges so it's not seen. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is go ahead. I did the rest of them in order to save time. I did 7 bags, or 7 pockets I should say total. So I'm going to line those with pattern paper using the Recollections Graceful Tack. And I cut out 6x6 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere those to the bags. Just adding some ATG tape and centering them. And what's good about using 6x6, number one, it leaves you with a nice black border. I'll probably fast forward through this part so you're not having to sit through me taping all of this on here. Now that I got all those down, what I like to do next, and I like to kind of line them up and see which paper is going to be, opposite of each other to make sure that it coordinates pretty well, even though the whole paper line coordinates. What I like to do next is make the inserts for them. And on the other albums I showed you, I made the tabs on top. These, I went ahead and just made the black matting longer. I made these 7 by 6, and then I used my Frisker's border punch across the top, and then I cut out a matting of 6 by 5 3/4, matted it on, and then that way it'll stick out just a little bit when it's in the book. So it'll end up looking like that instead of little tabs. So I left one to do. Again, this is the 6x7 piece. I believe this punch is the treading water punch. Okay. Put that aside, get rid of my scraps here. And then I will just go ahead and mat this on. Again, just using ATG, obviously. And then, of course, these are great photo mats. I leave the back just the black. That way, either journaling can be written on it in either a white, silver, you know, a pen that'll show up nicely, or another piece of paper can be put on a border or just a picture, but I like to leave that. So I went ahead and made all 7 mats just to save time. Okay, and then next thing I like to do is to glue all of these together in order with hot glue. And I match up the tops because, again, I'm not as worried about the bottom. Hold it as best as I can. And try to avoid hot glue too much at the bottom, and, well, I guess the bottom doesn't matter as much as the sides. Give that just a minute to dry. And then the next one, same thing. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to set that aside along with the mats that go inside. And I'm going to work on the cover. The cover I'm using black to match, and then I'll use this as a mat, this paper as a matting. So the cover, we want 11. So I'm cutting 2 pieces of paper at 11 inches. I might be a little out of frame here. I just took a 12 by 12, cut it down to 11 inches, and then 7 3/8. Again, cutting both pieces at 7 3/8 by 11. Okay. And then, let's see here. Well, I have my paper, and I'm using Prima. I'm going to cut these by about 7.5, just depending on how much black border you want to show. 7.5 and 6 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be one piece. And then for the back of it, so I'm going to cut that 8.5. Set that aside by 6.25. Okay, and then also I need a little strip. Let's see, 6.25. Quarter by 1.25. Okay, just so I can set my trimmer aside, I'm going to grab my scoreboard and back to the outside of the book. I like to mark in pencil because I know I'll be covering it up, which is my front and back cover, so I just put a little F and B. It just helps me to remember. I'm going to start with the front cover. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the 11-inch side. I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, 1/2 inch, 8.25 inches. And then 8.75 inches. Give that a couple swipes down. Okay, and then I want to flip it over to the 7 3/8 inch side, and I want to score it at 1/2 inch on both sides. And then I like to go ahead and flip it around and do my 1/2 inch this way. Just easier than looking at measurements. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. And the back cover, again on the 11-inch side, we want to go ahead and score at 1/2 inch. Two inches and 2.5 inches. Okay, and then you want to flip it to the 7 3/8 inch side and do 1/2 inch on both sides. Flip it around, do 1/2 inch. Okay, so on the 7 3/8 side for the back cover, we're doing 1/2 inch on both sides. And let me flip it this way. On the 11-inch side, we did 1/2 inch, 2 inches, and 2.5 inches. And that's the back cover. The front cover on the 7 3/8 inch side, we did 1/2 inch on both. And on the 11-inch side, we did, well, we did it this way. We did 1/2 inch, 8.25, and 8.75 inches. So we put our scoreboard away. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and crease on these using my bone folder. I like doing creasing on all my score lines. And then same thing on the back cover. Give it a nice crease. And then we're going to go ahead and add score tape to it. Okay, and we want to add score tape to all the 1/2 inch sides. So there's 3 sides. This is the back cover. We're going to add score tape to the both sides at a 1/2 inch and the 1/2 inch at the bottom. And I'm using my 1/4 inch score tape again. I know you can rip this, but sometimes it tends to rip my paper, so I just go ahead and cut it. I'm going to burnish that down, flip it around and do the other side. And then we're going to go ahead after we do this and miter the corners again. Just cut a little triangle out of the corners. Before I do that, I like to do all my taping. So this is the front cover, and we're doing the exact same thing. We're going to add score tape to the bottom portion where the 1/2 inch score marks are, and then both the sides all the way down. So it'll hold nice and strong. I'm not adding it all the way down to this corner only because I know I'm cutting that off. So, okay. Let's go ahead and take off our corners. We're cutting right where that line intersects right there on both sides, just to give it a nicer crease or a nicer fold when we fold it. Same thing on this side. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold up my sides first, and then the bottom one. And burnish it. That gives it a really nice crease. And then the bottom here. Okay, set that aside. Exact same thing on this one. Excuse the bandage. It was a hot glue incident. Gave myself a pretty good burn with it, because I was in a rush. I should never work with hot glue when I'm in a rush. Okay, doing both sides, and then the bottom. Okay, and then this is the back cover, so I like to kind of put it together. Let's see. Okay, so we know that the folded edge and the folded edge here want to meet together at the bottom, and it's going to go like this. And I like to put it either on the inside, but I hate that crease here. I hate that it can get caught. So I prefer to put it on the back side here and just cover that with paper, and you don't really notice it, and it seems stronger to me. So what I like to do is kind of put it together like this, and then unfold it, flip it around so I can see exactly where I need my score tape. And for this one, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch score tape, and I'm going to get as close to this fold as possible. So I get right up to that fold, and then I'm going to add score tape all up here, just to make sure we have a good adhesion when we put it together. full, so I had to stop it and start over. Where we left off is I had used some score tape to tape this together, and the only other thing I did off camera was I lined the inside with some paper using the exact same measurements as I used for the front and back cover. And I went ahead and added score tape. So I'm going to go ahead and add my matting on. On the inside. Let me just kind of measure it up here and see how I'm doing. Okay, what I want to do is put it flush at the bottom here and use my hot glue and only glue maybe a third of the way up. So I'm going to go ahead and get it exactly where I want it. Let's see here. Make sure it's even on the sides. I hope I'm not off frame too much. I just kind of want to make sure I have it right where I want it. And again, making sure that it's completely flush on the bottom here. And once I have it where I want it, I'm just going to hold it down and add my hot glue here. Again, trying not to add too close to the sides. I'm just going to hold that here until it sets up. Okay, and the reason I put this paper in here is it's a non-stick paper. And I added the hot glue a little higher than I wanted to, so I hurried up and stuck that in there just to make sure it didn't stick down onto my paper. So I'm going to let that dry and then I'll pull that out. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and add my inserts. Great. I'm glad I had that on hand so it didn't stick. And then as you can see, it folds perfectly to there. So what I want to do now trying to decide if I want to add a piece there, but I cut out again from the ornamental some coordinating paper and backed it on some chipboard, and then I'm using some frog feathers trim, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to the front here. And then this is going to be for my title, which I haven't quite decided on yet, so I'm not going to add the title, but I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue and put that down. I noticed the paper's coming up here a little, so I'm going to add a little more quick dry, Scotch quick dry on it. Make sure that's adhered well. I cut the center out of this just because it was just a little bit too bulky. Yeah, I'm going to put that about right here. And I'm going to add that right on top. Oh, that's so cute. And then maybe I'll add some pearls here. Excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of like, these are the Martha Stewart pearls, so I think I'm going to add those. And I like to add, excuse me, a little bit of hot glue. Otherwise I feel like they won't stay. They'll eventually come up. Excuse me. Perfect. I like to add an uneven amount, so I have 3 of those left. Okay, and I think I'm going to add some frosted lace stickles on the outside here as well. And these make great gifts to give. Let me just show you it again. Tons of room for pictures. It'll open a little more easily once, you know, I fold these all down. They're a little crisp right now. And I don't adhere the back to it because it seems to open much better, easier to get to the pictures if you do it this way. The one thing about these is you cannot embellish the insides too much. I usually will put another maybe die cut in here or a matting of some sort, which I will probably do. But if you put too many embellishments, it won't close. So that stops me from over embellishing it. And I also sprayed this paper with the Perfect Pearl. So I'll go ahead and add this on. I'll put some pictures on the ends. And again, here are just some of the other ones that I've made. Still need to finish. a smaller one, and this one here. Again, there will be pictures at the end. Thanks for watching.